Hi there, this is my submission for the Element 8, so it kind of wraps up the Course 2, L1 Course 2. And what I've done basically is I've just kind of added my notes and added the video evidence and kind of compiled this all into the same spreadsheet here. So you can see when each scoring area, when each area was present in the video. Ultimately, I submitted 3 videos, and I tried to cover as many things as I possibly could. I definitely wanted to really showcase a little bit of, the engagement and the community and culture that we've created here in the class, and a lot of the things that we do to make that happen. So a lot of my focus was definitely on the metacognitive, the efficacy and agency, the belonging and self-esteem, and the comfort, safety, and order, and engagement. So that was I felt like was a bigger, stronger area for me on these videos. So we can just go down them one by one. Proficiency scales. The first element was definitely present in 2 of the videos that I had. In the one, I demonstrated how I begin every single lesson with a reference sheet that the students have, and we go over their personal tracking matrices. I also demonstrated how in the conversation with Guillermo that we went over, that we utilize those proficiency scales very heavily. That's something that we focus on a lot, and what I feel like is a huge part of having a competency-based classroom. During assessment and feedback, talked a lot about with Guillermo. That was the big part. Was showing those assessments that I use. Talking about just the different things. And that's just within math. Talking about the different exit tickets that I use. Talking about the different websites, and then the summative assessment on that one. That's that's a small portion of the assessment that goes on and feedback that goes on in this classroom. But I thought a nice example and a focused one. All of these things were things that we're just kind of doing recently, and something that I felt like would be a good example to show. Definitely some of these things I tried to show, but videos didn't turn out that well. I'm also still trying to overcome a certain obstacle of going from my phone, videos on my phone, to being able to put them in with videos that I take with the computer camera here. So that was a little bit of a slowdown or an obstacle for me. So assessment and feedback was shown on that one. Proficiency scale instruction was also shown on the video 6, where the students, we were talking about a lesson that I had given previously about revising and editing, and so that was part of that one. It was more so a wrap up in a bit, I guess, but we just had structured practice on that learning target on revising and editing, where the students learn the mnemonic devices of cups and arms to help them with revising and editing. The general instruction one is one that I feel like is lightest and least represented here, and unfortunately that was a big element of that revising and editing lesson that I tried to get on video that didn't end up working out. Was we did the cups exercise, and then we went outside into the hallway. I always do gallery walks with my students when it comes to revising and editing their writing, or a lot of different things for that matter. But anyways, anytime they want to get student feedback, I have them put their stuff up in the hallway, because I feel it's a really nice space to be able to do that. And we have bulletin boards all over the hallway, so they can easily attach their stuff up there. Hang on. Okay, sorry about that. So the gallery walk is something that we do a lot of, and that was something that happened in that video. Let me make sure I'm rolling here. Yeah. That's something that happened a lot in that video, that happened a lot with that lesson, the general instruction lesson, where the students are revising and editing strategies, and they're reviewing content that was previously addressed in the video. We talked about the content that was previously addressed, and the students are hopefully revising and editing or correcting errors in their understanding of content that we previously addressed through that lesson. So that one was there. Engagement and metacognitive and efficacy and agency and belonging and self-esteem and comfort, safety and order were all addressed through definitely two of the videos. The one about my enrichment time was just huge as far as covering a lot of those engagement. The students are interested in what they're doing in that enrichment time. And the culture that's and the community that's been created by that has allowed for a lot of safety and order. It showed the comfort of my classroom and the students that within their daily interactions and how they operate in this classroom. The video with the students giving the kudos time, where I had my head supervisor in front of the classroom. That one's evidenced in the belonging and self-esteem, or belonging and esteem, excuse me, where the students are they're giving points to each other, they're giving kudos to each other. They were reading the links, the Rachel's Challenge links. They're talking about positive things that they're seeing in class. I mean, it's just a daily thing that we do, and we do that several times a day. We do that in our morning meeting as well. The efficacy and agency is a big part of that as well then, and about that enrichment time, and the students having just kind of control over what topics they're doing, control over each other, giving them that voice and that choice within the classroom. The roles that I give them, the roles that they're assigned is huge. The leadership opportunities is huge, and that spreads down into the metacognitive and life skills, where the students, they have to self-evaluate, they have to evaluate each other, they have to have leadership skills, they have to set, make plans for what they're doing, they have to follow a job description, and once they're done, they have to figure out what to do next and all this. So that enrichment time really highlighted a lot of that stuff. And then the video 6 where the students were doing where the students are up front, that also included me then going over something, and that also included me at the end doing the metacognitive and life skills, because I want them to or metacognitive life skills, which was the survey that I'm doing for my element for my goal setting. And I wanted to include that because I want you to see that I have my goals posted in the classroom, and I talk to my students constantly about the goals that I've set for this high reliability teacher program. And but it's not just for the HRT, I guess, because I was doing it last year as well, where I had them posted in the classroom for just my teacher goals and the things that I'm working towards. And so my students have been an integral part of this process, of this HRT process. They understand what I'm going through, and they are supporting me on it. And so, I hope these three videos have kind of just given you a glimpse. It's not the same as being in the classroom and seeing everything happen. And there's a lot of things that I haven't shown that I could show. So if you'd like to see anything, if there's something that hasn't been shown, or if there's something you'd like to see more of, please let me know. We can either get you in here to hang out with the classroom. I'd love to have you in here. I'd love to have the kids interact with you and learn from you. Or B, I can always videotape something that you'd like to see more. Videotape. That's an old, antiquated term. So anyways, that's that, and like I said, let me know if there's any feedback that you'd like to see. Thank you. Hi there, this is my video evidence or reflection for task 10 or element 10, where I'm connecting the assessments to the proficiency scales. And so I've got 3 assessments and 3 scales to talk about here. The first one being this level 6 learning target, RPO3 is what we call it. It's ratios and rates, unit rates, and this is something I just gave to my level 6 students, and we just talked about. The students, so this is the learning target. It's a really hefty one. It's a big one. It has a lot of indicators in it, so it's a little bit more than usual as far as the indicators of most of my learning targets. This one took us about 25 different lessons to get through this entire thing. So at the end of this is a summative assessment. It was a big one too. So I copied all of these and basically kind of just put them over into the end of module assessment here in the beginning. Boom. So the students would see them, and attached questions to each one of those, with more questions on the bigger ones that I felt like needed to be assessed. Each student then got a score within this category. I went through, graded them all, gave them an overall score based upon that indicator, and then the students, in the end of this one, the students ended up coming up with me and having conversations about their final score and what they felt like. So this is a really common thing for me with math, especially. It's really easy just to connect. Hey, here's the skill, here's the question, how did you do? And my students have gotten used to this format by now. So. So this is that one. That's the level 6 end of unit assessment. Second one would be this this Boston Massacre. So the students had. Let me pull this guy up. Make sure I have the one right here. This would be no, not points of view. Sorry. There's the quiz. Here we go, point of view. And so this is a nonfiction, we call this R206, or point of view. And in this learning target, students are supposed to analyze multiple accounts of the same event or topic. And so there's a score 2 content on this was determine when accounts when they differ slightly, and the score 3 content was they're supposed to analyze multiple accounts of the same event and topic, and then note the similarities and differences, and basically talk about it, discuss it. So for this one, the students had more of a demonstration, I guess, if you will, where they had to go in and they had to read read multiple accounts of the Boston Massacre. I had 5 different sources for them, which were 5 different accounts or 5 different eyewitness accounts. Some of them were testimonials given during a deposition, and there were colonists who gave their accounts, and there were British soldiers who gave their accounts, and one was a newspaper article from the time. And so the students, they had to read all these sources, and then they had to go through and they had to give the description of each one. So the score 2 here content was by this data collection table. The students had to go in and talk about the viewpoints of all these things and notice similarities and differences. And then the score 3 content was down here on the bottom, where the students had to go and then talk about which one's similar, analyze the accounts, talk about similarities and differences, and kind of analyze that stuff. So score 2, score 3. That's how that assessment worked out. I personally like doing more demonstrations where students are, almost like open-ended type things. This one, like I said, this one worked out well. I really liked the feedback that I got from the students, and the things that I learned about the students using this one. It was really easy to see. First off, did they just understand these accounts, but more so did they understand the differences, and it was really readily apparent up here within this data collection sheet as to what the students were thinking. And then the third one that I want to show is one called Sahara and the Tiger Cub. And this is one I used. This is actually a pretest that I gave that I gave my students. And so the pretest, this was in everything's within Empower, right? So this was an Empower playlist, and I always like to have at the beginning of an Empower playlist, especially my literacy ones, a really big pre-assessment followed by goal setting and reflection activities within Empower. And so it's just Empower is really built just to handle all of this stuff and handle it seamlessly and have the students go in and do it all on their own, and then we can talk about the reflection and what they thought. The story elements here was you have to compare and contrast 2 or more characters' points of view, and the score 2 content here was you need to be able to describe what a character, setting, or event is, and then identify details that support that character, setting, and event. So what I have is this is the copy of the Empower quiz, the Empower pre-assessment, where the students had to go and they had to read this article called Sahara and the Tiger Cub, and then the students had to answer the following questions. And so you'll see that like, what's the first clue about where she lives? So this is a detail about what's the weather probably like, things about the setting. How does the answer to question 2 help explain her hobby? So there's things about saying, okay, well here's identifying the weather, but then this is the other score 2 content of can you identify a detail that supports that. So these all go down. I have a bunch of score 2s on here to give myself or to give the students an accurate depiction of where they're at. And then I have 2 score 3 contents, or sorry, 1 score 3 and 1 score 4, where I have the students get an opportunity to rewrite the story with a different setting or a different point of view. So all of these relate to learning target, boom, boom, and the students in all of my assessments always know one specific learning target that they're working on and what specific content is of those learning targets, of that assessment. So that's where I'm at.